If you're tired of feeling behind, it's time to take control, starting at 5 a.m. The world's most successful people use their mornings to build unstoppable discipline, focus, and momentum. This audiobook will show you exactly how to win every single day before the world even wakes up. The Power of 5 a.m. Audiobook. Introduction. Success isn't about luck, talent, or intelligence. It's about how you spend your time, and the world's highest achievers all have one thing in common. They win their mornings. You're hearing these words because something inside you knows there's more. More potential. More possibility. More impact waiting to be unleashed. Yet each day slips through your fingers as you rush from task to task, always one step behind, always reacting instead of leading. But what if you could change everything by changing one thing? What if the key to extraordinary achievement isn't working harder or longer, but working smarter by claiming the most powerful hours of your day? The truth is, while others hit snooze and stumble into their days, the world's top performers are already building empires, breaking records, and revolutionizing industries, all before most people pour their first cup of coffee. At 5 a.m., they tap into a sacred window of uninterrupted focus, clarity, and momentum that sets them apart from the masses. This isn't about being a morning person. It's about becoming unstoppable. The science is clear. Early rising multiplies your productivity, supercharges your energy, and rewires your brain for peak performance. And no, you don't need to sacrifice sleep. You'll learn how to optimize your rest for maximum recovery and vitality. By the time you finish this audiobook, you won't recognize the person who used to struggle out of bed. Your habits will be transformed. Your mindset will be revolutionized. Your results will speak for themselves. But first, you must make a choice. Will you continue to let life happen to you, or will you seize control of your mornings and finally become the architect of your destiny? Chapter 1. The 5 a.m. Advantage. If I told you that a single habit could give you an unfair advantage in life, would you ignore it? Right now, you're standing at a crossroads. On one path lies the familiar comfort of hitting snooze, rushing through your morning, and constantly playing catch-up with your day. On the other path awaits transformation, a chance to join the ranks of history's highest achievers who discovered the secret weapon of early rising. Think about your typical morning. The jarring alarm, the frantic rush, the mental fog that follows you into your first meetings. You're not alone. Millions start their day in reaction mode, surrendering control before they even step out of bed. But what if you could flip the script? What if you could own your day instead of letting it own you? The world's most successful individuals haven't just stumbled upon their achievements. They've engineered their mornings to create an insurmountable advantage. This isn't about natural talent or lucky breaks. It's about a deliberate choice to seize the most powerful hours of the day while others sleep. Take Indra Nooyi, former CEO of PepsiCo, who rises at 4 a.m. every day. During her tenure leading a Fortune 500 company, she discovered that these early hours weren't just quiet, they were transformative. In these moments of solitude, she found the clarity to make decisions that would impact thousands of employees and billions in revenue. The early morning became her secret weapon, allowing her to think strategically before the chaos of meetings and demands began. Bob Iger, the legendary former CEO of Disney, starts his day at 4:30 a.m., not because he has to, but because he's discovered the exponential value of these uninterrupted hours. In his own words, these morning hours provide him with an opportunity to exercise, read, and contemplate major decisions without the constant ping of emails or the pressure of immediate responses. This routine helped him orchestrate some of the most significant acquisitions in entertainment history, including Pixar, Marvel, and Lucasfilm. Even during humanity's darkest hours, early rising proved to be a crucial advantage. Winston Churchill, facing the immense pressure of leading Britain through World War II, maintained an unwavering morning routine. Despite late-night war meetings, he recognized that clear thinking and strategic planning in the early hours were vital for making decisions that would shape history. Science backs up what these leaders discovered through experience. Research shows that our willpower and decision-making abilities are strongest in the morning, before the accumulated choices of the day drain our mental energy. Our cortisol levels naturally peak in these early hours, preparing our bodies and minds for optimal performance. The quiet of dawn provides an environment where deep work and creative thinking can flourish without the constant interruptions that fragment our later hours. But this isn't just about famous figures or scientific studies. It's about real people discovering the transformative power of early rising. Take James, a financial analyst who felt perpetually overwhelmed by his workload. Every morning was a blur of hastily checked emails, skipped breakfasts, and racing to catch up with a day that had started without him. His stress levels were through the roof, and his performance was suffering. Everything changed when James committed to the 5 a.m. routine. Initially skeptical, he found that waking up early wasn't about having less sleep. It was about having more life. In those quiet morning hours, he could finally think clearly. He used this time to exercise, plan his day, and tackle his most challenging work before the first meeting ever began. Within weeks, his productivity doubled. His colleagues noticed the difference in his energy and focus. Most importantly, he no longer felt like he was drowning in his daily responsibilities. The power of 5 a.m. isn't just about being awake earlier. It's about taking control of your life's trajectory. It's about creating space for excellence before the world's demands come crashing in. Every morning presents a choice. Will you lead your day, or will you follow it? Your challenge is simple but profound. Set your alarm for 5 a.m. tomorrow. Don't overthink it. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Tomorrow morning, you have a chance to join the ranks of those who have discovered this transformative advantage. One decision, one morning, can be the catalyst that changes everything. The question isn't whether you can do it. It's whether you're ready to stop settling for less than your full potential. Will you accept the challenge? Chapter 2. Your Brain's Golden Hours. Every morning presents two radically different paths. Picture yourself waking up naturally, your mind crystal clear, your body humming with energy. You're not fighting through mental fog or desperately seeking caffeine. You're already 3 steps ahead of everyone else. Your most important work is done before others have even hit their first snooze button. Now contrast this with what might feel more familiar. Dragging yourself out of bed after multiple alarms, immediately reaching for your phone and stumbling through your morning routine in a haze. By the time you're truly awake, you've already missed the most powerful hours your brain has to offer. The difference between these two scenarios isn't just about willpower or discipline, it's rooted in biology. Your brain operates on a precise schedule, and understanding this internal rhythm is the key to unlocking unprecedented levels of performance. In the early morning hours, your body orchestrates a remarkable symphony of neurochemicals. Cortisol, often misunderstood as just a stress hormone, reaches its natural peak, priming your brain for optimal alertness and cognitive function. This surge isn't about stress, it's your body's built-in energizer, designed to help you tackle complex challenges with clarity and focus. Simultaneously, dopamine and serotonin levels are at their highest, creating the perfect neurological cocktail for motivation, learning, and problem-solving. This isn't just theory. It's your brain's natural performance enhancer, freely available every single morning. Tim Sweeney, the visionary founder of Epic Games, understood this biological advantage long before Fortnite became a global phenomenon. Rising before dawn, Sweeney dedicates these precious morning hours to complex problem-solving and creative game design. During his work on the Unreal Engine, which would later revolutionize the gaming industry, these early hours became his secret weapon. In these moments of uninterrupted focus, he could tackle the most challenging programming problems that would be nearly impossible to solve amid the chaos of a typical workday. The morning hours are when I can think in systems and solve problems that require deep focus, Sweeney noted in a rare interview. By the time most people are starting their workday, I've already tackled the most challenging aspects of game engine architecture. The science behind this is compelling. Research reveals that our prefrontal cortex, the brain region responsible for high-level thinking, planning, and decision-making, functions at its peak during these early hours. This isn't just about being awake. It's about leveraging your brain when its executive function is at its strongest. A groundbreaking study demonstrated that information processing and memory consolidation are significantly more effective in the morning hours. Participants who engaged in complex learning tasks early in the day showed a 40% higher retention rate compared to those who attempted the same tasks in the afternoon. But this isn't just about cognitive performance. It's about transformation. Take Olivia, a corporate attorney who was struggling to keep up with her demanding caseload. Her mornings typically started with an immediate dive into social media, followed by frantic email checking and rushing to court. By the time she needed to present arguments or negotiate deals, her mental energy was already depleted. "I was living in a constant state of mental fog," she recalls. "Even though I was working longer hours, my performance was suffering. I felt like I was always playing catch-up." Everything changed when Olivia committed to restructuring her morning routine. Instead of reaching for her phone, she began her day at 5 a.m. with a glass of water and 10 minutes of mindful breathing. This simple act created space for her brain to wake up naturally. She followed this with 20 minutes of reading industry journals and case law, not because she had to, but because her mind was fresh and receptive to complex information. The results were transformative. Within weeks, she noticed a dramatic improvement in her courtroom performance. Her arguments became sharper, her responses more nuanced. Her ability to recall specific cases and precedents improved dramatically. Most importantly, she no longer felt mentally exhausted before the day's crucial moments. "The difference was incredible," she explains. "By giving my brain the right start, I was able to think more clearly and perform better throughout the entire day. The morning hours became my competitive advantage." The key insight here isn't just about waking up early. It's about aligning your most important work with your brain's natural peak performance window. When you scroll through social media or immediately dive into emails first thing in the morning, you're essentially squandering your cognitive prime time on low-value activities. Think about it. Would you use your strongest hours for mindless tasks if you knew your brain was operating at double capacity? Would you waste your peak mental energy on activities that drain rather than energize you? This is where the real transformation begins. By understanding and working with your brain's natural rhythm, you can exponentially increase your effectiveness. The early morning hours aren't just quiet. They're biologically optimized for excellence. Chapter 3. Your First Hour, the Blueprint for Success. The first 60 minutes after you open your eyes set the trajectory for everything that follows. This isn't metaphorical. It's a neurological reality that shapes your energy, focus, and decision-making capacity for the next 24 hours. Think about your typical morning. Are you deliberately designing that crucial first hour, or letting circumstances dictate your start? Most people begin their day in reaction mode. The alarm sounds, and immediately they're responding to notifications, scrolling through social media, or tackling urgent emails. Each of these seemingly small actions triggers a cascade of decisions that slowly but surely depletes your most valuable resource, your mental energy. This depletion isn't just about feeling tired, it's about the quality of every choice you make throughout the day. Research demonstrates that willpower functions like a muscle. Each decision, no matter how minor, draws from this limited reserve. By mid-morning, most people have already exhausted a significant portion of their decision-making capacity on low-value choices. This phenomenon, known as decision fatigue, explains why even brilliant minds can make poor choices later in the day. A landmark study revealed that judges were significantly more likely to grant parole early in the morning compared to later in the day, not because of the case's merits, but because decision fatigue led to defaulting to the safer no option. Vera Wang, the iconic fashion designer whose empire spans bridal wear to home furnishings, understood this principle long before it became mainstream psychology. Her morning routine is legendary in the fashion industry for its precision and structure. Every day begins at exactly 5:30 a.m. with a specific sequence: hydration, light stretching, and 30 minutes of quiet reflection before touching any work-related materials. In fashion, we make thousands of decisions daily that impact the entire collection, Wang has explained. By automating my mornings, I preserve my creative energy for the decisions that truly matter. When I arrive at the studio, my mind is clear and ready for the day's creative challenges. The science behind this approach is compelling. Research shows that the brain's executive function, responsible for planning, decision-making, and problem-solving, performs optimally in the morning hours. However, this advantage is quickly squandered if we immediately immerse ourselves in reactive tasks. This brings us to Daniel, a rising star in Silicon Valley, who was watching his startup slowly unravel despite working 16-hour days. His mornings typically started with an immediate dive into his inbox, responding to investor concerns, addressing team issues, and putting out fires before he even got dressed. "I thought being responsive meant being responsible," Daniel recalls, "but I was actually sabotaging myself and my company by starting each day in chaos." The turning point came when Daniel realized he was using his peak mental hours on other people's priorities. He implemented what he calls his power hour, rising at 5 a.m. and following a strict sequence: 10 minutes of meditation, 15 minutes reviewing and prioritizing his most critical objectives, and 35 minutes of focused work on his company's most strategic initiatives. The transformation was remarkable. Within weeks, his team noticed a shift in his leadership. He moved from reactive to proactive, from scattered to focused. Most importantly, his company's key metrics began to improve. "By owning my first hour, I finally started owning my entire day," he explains. "The difference wasn't in working more hours, it was in using the right hours correctly." This isn't just about productivity, it's about reclaiming control of your life's direction. Every morning presents a choice. Will you design your day, or will you let your day design you? The first hour is your opportunity to set intentions, align your actions with your goals, and create momentum that carries you through whatever challenges arise. Your challenge now is to design your first hour. Take out a piece of paper and identify 3 non-negotiable habits you'll implement tomorrow morning. These should be actions that energize you, center you, and move you closer to your goals. Be specific about the timing and sequence. Remember, you're not just planning a routine, you're creating the blueprint for your success. What will your first hour look like tomorrow? Chapter 4. Breaking the Snooze Cycle. Your alarm blares. You groggily reach for your phone, hit snooze, and tell yourself you'll get up in 5 minutes. Before you know it, 45 minutes have passed, and you're already behind schedule, rushing through your morning. The cycle repeats day after day, leaving you frustrated and wondering why you can't seem to break free from this self-defeating pattern. This isn't just about missing your intended wake-up time. It's about starting each day with a small failure that compounds into larger ones. Every time you hit snooze, you're not just losing precious morning minutes, you're programming your brain to resist positive change. The myth of being not a morning person has held too many people back from their true potential. This convenient excuse ignores a fundamental truth about human biology. Our circadian rhythms are adaptable. Research demonstrates that what we perceive as our natural sleep patterns are largely the result of habitual behaviors, not fixed genetic programming. Barack Obama's morning routine during his presidency offers a powerful example of this principle. Despite having arguably the most demanding job in the world, he maintained a consistent 5 a.m. wake-up time throughout his 8 years in office. "The quiet hours before dawn were often my most productive," he revealed in his memoir. "It wasn't about being a morning person. It was about creating structure in chaos." What made Obama's routine remarkable wasn't just the early start. It was his understanding that consistent sleep patterns were crucial for high performance. He went to bed at the same time each night, avoided late-night work sessions, and maintained this schedule even during international trips. This wasn't just discipline for discipline's sake. It was a strategic approach to managing energy and decision-making capacity. The science behind this approach is compelling. When you hit snooze, you're interrupting your body's natural wake-up sequence. During the final hours of sleep, your body begins increasing cortisol levels and body temperature to prepare for waking. Each time you drift back to sleep after hitting snooze, you restart this process, leaving you more groggy and disoriented when you finally get up. This phenomenon, known as sleep inertia, can impair cognitive performance for up to 4 hours after waking. A study found that participants who used the snooze button consistently reported lower energy levels and decreased mental clarity throughout the day compared to those who got up with their first alarm. Lucas, a software engineer in Seattle, struggled with this cycle for years. I'd set 3 different alarms, knowing I'd hit snooze on all of them, he recalls. I thought I was giving myself backup plans, but I was actually training myself to ignore my wake-up time. His transformation began when he realized that his evening routine was sabotaging his mornings. Instead of trying to force himself awake earlier, he started by adjusting his wind-down time. He implemented a 15-minute gradual adjustment strategy, moving both his bedtime and wake time back by small increments each week. The game changer was linking my early wake-up to something I genuinely looked forward to, Lucas explains. I set up my coffee maker the night before and bought myself an expensive blend I only allowed myself to drink during my morning coding sessions. It sounds simple, but having that small reward waiting made a huge difference. He also leveraged light exposure, placing a smart bulb in his bedroom that would gradually brighten 30 minutes before his alarm. This natural light simulation helped align his circadian rhythm with his desired wake time. Within 6 weeks, Lucas was consistently waking up at 5 a.m. without struggling. The most surprising part wasn't just waking up earlier, it was how much better I felt throughout the day, he notes. My code was cleaner, my problem solving was sharper, and I stopped hitting that 3 p.m. energy crash. Your challenge for the next 5 days is simple but powerful. Move your alarm back 15 minutes earlier each day. But here's the crucial part. Identify one small but exciting activity that you'll only allow yourself to do during that early morning time. Make it something you genuinely look forward to, whether it's enjoying a special breakfast, reading a book you're excited about, or working on a personal project you're passionate about. This positive association will help rewire your brain to embrace the early wake-up rather than resist it. Chapter 5. Conquering the snooze button, breaking the cycle of morning failure. Every time you hit snooze, you're unconsciously choosing failure before your day even begins. This isn't about being harsh, it's about acknowledging a fundamental truth that shapes your entire life trajectory. That small, seemingly innocent action of postponing your wake-up time is more than just 5 extra minutes of sleep. It's your first decision of the day, and it speaks volumes about who you are becoming. Think about the last time you hit snooze. In that hazy moment between sleep and wakefulness, you made a choice. You chose immediate comfort over long-term growth. You chose to start your day with procrastination instead of purpose. Most importantly, you chose to break a promise to yourself, the most damaging kind of promise to break. The science behind snoozing reveals why this habit is particularly destructive. When your alarm first sounds, your brain begins a complex wake-up sequence. Cortisol levels rise, body temperature increases, and your nervous system starts to activate. But when you hit snooze and drift back to sleep, you force your body to restart this entire process. It's like repeatedly revving a car engine without letting it warm up properly. Eventually, something's going to break down. Neuroscientists found that this interrupted sleep pattern triggers what they call sleep inertia, a state of cognitive and sensory impairment that can last up to 4 hours after waking. This means that those few extra minutes of fragmented sleep don't just affect your morning, they compromise your entire day's potential. The addictive nature of snoozing stems from our brain's reward system. Each time you hit that button, you get a small dopamine hit, the same neurotransmitter involved in addiction. You're literally training your brain to crave the easy way out, reinforcing a pattern of choosing short-term pleasure over long-term success. Mel Robbins, renowned for her work on habit formation and personal development, experienced this struggle firsthand. Before developing her famous 5-second rule, she was trapped in a cycle of snoozing that left her feeling defeated every morning. I realized that my morning routine wasn't just about waking up, it was about who I was becoming, she explains. Every time I chose to stay in bed, I was choosing to be someone who breaks promises to themselves. Her breakthrough came from understanding that motivation isn't what gets us out of bed. Action is. The 5-second rule she developed, counting backward from 5 and then moving immediately, bypasses the brain's natural tendency to overthink and procrastinate. It's not about feeling ready. It's about taking action before your mind can talk you out of it. This insight aligns perfectly with research, which demonstrates that decisive morning action getting up immediately when your alarm sounds, helps regulate your circadian rhythm more effectively than gradual or delayed waking. Your body literally learns to anticipate and prepare for your wake-up time, making the process easier over time. Observe the story of Sophia, a senior marketing executive who struggled with chronic snoozing. Despite setting 3 different alarms, she would hit snooze on all of them, starting each day in a state of rushed chaos. "I was always running late, always apologizing, always feeling like I was playing catch-up," she recalls. "The worst part wasn't even the practical implications. It was how it made me feel about myself. Every morning, I was reinforcing the belief that I couldn't trust myself to follow through on my own decisions." Sophia's transformation began when she realized that her snoozing habit was a symptom of a deeper pattern in her life, avoiding discomfort and postponing important decisions. She decided to tackle this head-on with a 3-part strategy. First, she placed her alarm across the room, forcing physical movement to turn it off. This simple change eliminated the possibility of hitting snooze while still half asleep. "Getting vertical was half the battle," she explains. "Once I was standing, it was much easier to stay up." Second, she installed bright LED lights connected to her alarm system. When her alarm went off, the lights would gradually brighten, mimicking natural sunrise. This worked with her body's circadian rhythm, making waking feel more natural and less jarring. Finally, and most importantly, she developed what she calls her morning mantra, a short phrase that reinforced her new identity as someone who takes immediate action. The moment she turned off her alarm, she would say out loud, "I am awake, I am in control, I am winning my morning." The mantra sounds simple, but it was transformative, Sophia shares. It wasn't just about the words. It was about immediately replacing the voice that wanted to go back to bed with a stronger voice that reminded me of who I was choosing to become. Within weeks, Sophia's entire morning dynamic shifted. She found herself naturally waking up before her alarm, feeling more energized, and most importantly, starting each day with a sense of victory rather than defeat. Her newfound morning discipline began bleeding into other areas of her life. She became more decisive in meetings, more consistent with her commitments, and more confident in her ability to follow through on goals. The psychology behind Sophia's success reveals a crucial truth. Your morning routine is about more than just when you wake up. It's about the relationship you're building with yourself. Every time you follow through on your intention to wake up, you strengthen your self-trust. Every time you resist the urge to snooze, you build evidence that you're someone who does what they say they'll do. Research shows that people who maintain consistent wake-up times report higher levels of self-efficacy, the belief in one's ability to accomplish goals across all areas of life. This makes intuitive sense. If you can master the first challenge of your day, you're better equipped to handle whatever comes next. Your challenge for the next 7 days is straightforward but powerful. Place your alarm across the room. When it rings, get up immediately and recite these words. "I am awake. I am in control. I am winning my morning." Don't complicate it. Don't negotiate with yourself. Just move, speak, and begin. Chapter 6. The Sleep Advantage. Quality over quantity. Waking up early isn't the real challenge. The real challenge is getting quality sleep so that waking up early feels effortless. You've likely spent years focusing on the wrong metric, chasing more hours of sleep when what you really need is better sleep. This distinction isn't just semantic. It's the difference between dragging yourself through your mornings and bouncing out of bed ready to conquer the day. Your body operates on a precise biological rhythm, moving through distinct 90-minute sleep cycles throughout the night. Each cycle serves a crucial purpose, from physical restoration to memory consolidation. When you interrupt these cycles by waking up at the wrong time, you experience that familiar fog of grogginess, what scientists call sleep inertia, regardless of how many hours you've spent in bed. This revelation transforms our entire approach to sleep optimization. Instead of asking, "How many hours should I sleep?" the real question becomes, "How can I maximize the quality of my sleep cycles?" The answer lies in understanding and working with your body's natural rhythms rather than fighting against them. LeBron James, widely regarded as one of the greatest athletes in history, demonstrates this principle perfectly. Despite his grueling schedule and intense physical demands, he maintains peak performance through an unwavering commitment to sleep quality. James doesn't just get 8 hours of sleep, he engineers his entire environment for optimal rest. He keeps his bedroom at exactly 68 degrees Fahrenheit, uses blackout curtains to eliminate light pollution, and follows a strict wind-down routine that starts hours before bedtime. "I'm very disciplined with my sleep," James has explained. "Without quality rest, everything else suffers. My performance, my decision-making, my leadership. It's not just about getting enough sleep. It's about getting the right kind of sleep." The science supports James's approach. Research reveals that the quality of your sleep matters more than the quantity when it comes to cognitive function, emotional regulation, and physical recovery. Your brain processes information, consolidates memories, and repairs neural pathways during specific sleep stages. Interrupting these processes, even if you're technically getting enough hours, can severely impact your performance. The most common sleep disruptors might be sabotaging your rest right now. Blue light exposure from screens tricks your brain into thinking it's still daytime, suppressing melatonin production and disrupting your natural sleep-wake cycle. Inconsistent sleep schedules confuse your body's internal clock, making it harder to fall asleep and wake up naturally. And stress, particularly from checking work emails or social media before bed, activates your sympathetic nervous system, making quality rest nearly impossible. Eric, a college professor in Boston, discovered this the hard way. Despite regularly sleeping for 8 hours, he constantly felt exhausted and struggled to maintain focus during his morning lectures. "I was doing everything by the book, or so I thought," he recalls. 8 hours of sleep, regular exercise, healthy diet. But I still felt like I was moving through molasses every morning. His breakthrough came when he started treating sleep as a science rather than a numbers game. Using a sleep tracking device, he discovered that his sleep quality was poor despite the quantity. He was waking up multiple times throughout the night, often during crucial deep sleep phases, and his pre-bed routine was actually working against him. Eric implemented 3 key changes that transformed his sleep quality. First, he calculated his optimal bedtime based on 90-minute sleep cycles, working backward from his desired wake-up time. This ensured he would naturally wake up between cycles rather than during them. Second, he established a strict digital sunset. No screens 2 hours before bed. Instead of grading papers on his laptop or scrolling through social media, he switched to reading physical books and journaling. Third, he created what he calls his sleep sanctuary. He removed all electronics from his bedroom, invested in blackout curtains, and maintained a cool, quiet environment conducive to deep rest. The difference was immediate and profound, Eric shares. "Within a week, I was waking up naturally before my alarm, feeling refreshed and alert. My morning lectures became more engaging, and my students noticed the difference. I wasn't just getting more sleep, I was getting better sleep." Your challenge tonight is simple but powerful. Set a bedtime that ensures you complete full 90-minute sleep cycles before your wake-up time. If you plan to wake at 5 a.m., count backward in 90-minute increments to find your ideal bedtime. Turn off all screens at least 1 hour before bed, and create an environment that promotes quality rest. This isn't just about sleeping, it's about giving your body the foundation it needs for extraordinary performance. Chapter 7. The First Hour. Designing Your Morning Masterpiece. If your first hour is chaos, your whole day will be chaos. But if your first hour is powerful, your day becomes unstoppable. Think about your typical morning. Does it energize you, setting you up for success? Or does it leave you feeling scattered, already behind before you've truly begun? Most people unknowingly sabotage their entire day in the first 60 minutes after waking. They reach for their phones, immediately flooding their minds with others' priorities. They rush through their routines, treating the morning as something to survive rather than an opportunity to thrive. But these critical first moments shape everything that follows. Your brain operates differently in these early hours. Neuroscience reveals that upon waking, your neural pathways are most receptive to new patterns and focused thought. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for executive function, decision-making, and creative thinking, experiences peak activity during this time. This window of heightened neuroplasticity means your morning choices have an outsized impact on your mental state throughout the day. Twyla Tharp, one of the most celebrated choreographers in history, understood this principle intuitively. For over 4 decades, her morning routine has remained sacrosanct. Rising at 5:30 a.m., she puts on her workout clothes laid out the night before, walks outside in the dark New York morning, hails a taxi to the gym, and exercises for 2 hours. This isn't just about physical fitness, it's about creating momentum. I begin each day of my life with a ritual, Tharp explains. The ritual is not the stretching and weight training I put my body through each morning at the gym. The ritual is the cab. The moment I tell the driver where to go, I have completed the ritual. It's a simple act, but doing it the same way each morning habitualizes it, makes it repeatable, easy to do. It reduces the chance that I would skip it or do it differently. It is one more item in my arsenal of routines and one less thing to think about. This insight reveals the true power of a structured first hour. It removes decision fatigue and creates automatic excellence. When you design your morning with intention, you're not just planning activities. You're programming success into your neural pathways. The 3 pillars of an effective morning routine emerge from decades of research and real-world success stories. Mental clarity. Your mind needs space to calibrate before engaging with the world's demands. This might involve meditation, journaling, or simply sitting in quiet reflection. The key is avoiding input, like news or social media, before you've established your own mental baseline. Physical movement. Your body craves activation after sleep. This doesn't mean an intense workout. Even gentle stretching or a short walk can awaken your systems and trigger the release of energy-promoting hormones like cortisol and endorphins. Intentional planning. Taking time to identify your priorities and visualize your day's outcomes creates a mental roadmap that guides your decisions and actions. This isn't about creating rigid schedules, but rather establishing clear intentions. Leah, a novelist in Portland, discovered the transformative power of these principles firsthand. For years, she struggled with writer's block, constantly feeling disconnected from her creativity. Her mornings were a blur of checking emails, scrolling through social media, and making coffee, activities that drained her mental energy before she even opened her manuscript. I was always waiting for inspiration to strike, she recalls, but I was poisoning my creative well every morning with other people's thoughts and demands. My first hour was pure reaction, and my writing suffered because of it. Everything changed when she redesigned her first hour. Rising at 5 a.m., she began with 10 minutes of meditation to clear her mind. Next came gentle yoga stretches, awakening her body while maintaining her calm mental state. Then she spent 20 minutes journaling, not about her novel, but about anything that came to mind, letting her thoughts flow freely without judgment. The difference was immediate and profound, Leah shares. By protecting that first hour, by treating it as sacred space for my creativity to awaken naturally, I found myself writing with a clarity and confidence I'd never experienced before. Within 3 months of implementing this routine, Leah completed the novel that had been stalling for years. More importantly, she discovered that her enhanced creativity and focus extended throughout her day, improving everything from her relationships to her decision-making. The science behind Leah's transformation is clear. When you begin your day with intentional practices that promote mental clarity, physical vitality, and purposeful planning, you create what researchers call a positive cascade effect. Each beneficial action triggers the next, building momentum that carries you through challenges and opportunities alike. Your morning routine doesn't need to be complex. In fact, simpler is often better. The key is consistency and intention. Each element should serve a specific purpose in preparing you for peak performance. For mental clarity, consider 5 minutes of mindful breathing, writing 3 pages in a journal, reading something inspiring, not news or social media. For physical movement, choose 10 minutes of gentle stretching, a short walk around your neighborhood, basic bodyweight exercises. For intentional planning, implement writing your 3 most important tasks, visualizing successful outcomes, setting specific intentions for the day. Your challenge for the next 5 days is to design and implement your optimal first hour. Choose one activity from each pillar: mental clarity, physical movement, and intentional planning. Write them down now and commit to performing them in the same order each morning. Remember, this isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Your morning routine should energize and empower you, not become another source of stress. Start small, stay consistent, and watch how transforming your first hour transforms your entire life. What 3 specific activities will you choose to create your powerful first hour? Chapter 8. The 3 pillars: energy, focus, and execution. Your mornings are either fueling you or draining you. There's no in-between. Right now, as you listen to these words, think about how you spent your morning today. Did each action build your momentum, sharpen your mind, and propel you toward your goals? Or did you drift through those precious hours, letting valuable energy and opportunity slip away? Most people unknowingly sabotage their potential every morning through a series of small but devastating choices. They skip movement, choosing comfort over vitality. They cloud their minds with information overload before establishing clarity. They tackle easy, meaningless tasks while postponing what truly matters. The science is clear. Your brain and body operate on natural rhythms that peak in the early hours. These rhythms influence everything from cognitive function to physical performance. But it's not enough to simply wake up early. You need a structured approach that maximizes these natural advantages. This is where the 3 pillars of an elite morning come into play: energy, focus, and execution. Each pillar builds upon the others, creating a compound effect that transforms your entire day. Halle Berry, renowned for her ageless vitality and sustained success, exemplifies these principles in action. Her morning routine is a masterclass in the 3-pillar approach. Starting at 5 a.m., she begins with movement, not just exercise, but mindful movement that awakens both body and mind. This is followed by meditation and journaling to achieve mental clarity. Only then does she tackle her most challenging work, whether it's script analysis or business decisions. The morning sets the tone for everything, Berry explains. If I win my morning, I win my day. It's that simple. Her commitment to this structure has helped her maintain peak performance across decades in an intensely demanding industry. The science behind this approach is compelling. Physical movement in the morning triggers a cascade of beneficial hormones: cortisol for alertness, endorphins for mood elevation, and BDNF for cognitive enhancement. Mental clarity practices like meditation or journaling activate the prefrontal cortex, improving decision-making and focus. And tackling your most important work during these peak hours leverages your brain's optimal state for complex problem-solving. Andre, a financial consultant in Chicago, discovered the transformative power of these 3 pillars firsthand. His mornings used to be a blur of checking emails, rushing through breakfast, and arriving at work already feeling depleted. His energy would crash by mid-morning, his focus scattered across countless small tasks. I was doing everything backward, he recalls, starting my day by reacting to others' needs, never giving myself time to build momentum or tackle what really mattered. The turning point came when he restructured his morning around the 3 pillars. Energy: 20 minutes of bodyweight exercises and stretching, followed by a nutrient-rich smoothie. Focus: 15 minutes of mindful breathing and writing down his top 3 priorities for the day. Execution: 90 minutes of uninterrupted work on his most important project before opening email or taking meetings. The results were immediate and profound. His energy levels stabilized, his mental clarity sharpened, and his productivity soared. Within 3 months, he had landed 3 major clients and received a promotion, all while feeling less stressed and more in control. The difference wasn't just in what I was doing, Andre explains. It was in how I felt throughout the day. I stopped being at the mercy of my schedule and started directing my energy where it mattered most. This transformation is available to anyone willing to implement these 3 pillars consistently. The key is understanding that each pillar serves a specific purpose in your morning architecture. Energy ignites your physical and mental systems, preparing you for peak performance. This could be exercise, stretching, or even a brisk walk, anything that gets your blood flowing and awakens your body. Focus creates the mental space needed for clarity and intention. Without this pillar, you risk scattered thinking and reactive behavior. Meditation, journaling, or quiet reflection helps you establish your priorities and maintain perspective. Execution is where potential transforms into results. By tackling your most important work during your peak hours, you ensure that your highest priorities receive your best energy and focus. Your challenge for the next 5 mornings is to implement one practice from each pillar. For energy, choose one physical activity that takes 10 to 20 minutes. For focus, select one mental clarity practice lasting 10 to 15 minutes. For execution, identify your most important task and tackle it first. Write down your 3 choices now. Be specific about what you'll do and when. Remember, this isn't about perfection, it's about progress. What 3 specific actions will you commit to tomorrow morning? Chapter 9. Winning the War Against Morning Distractions. The average person checks their phone within 3 minutes of waking up. Let that sink in for a moment. Before your feet touch the floor, before you take a deep breath of morning air, before you even fully open your eyes, you're already surrendering your precious morning hours to an avalanche of notifications, updates, and other people's priorities. Think about your own morning ritual. How many times have you reached for your phone, telling yourself you'll just check something quickly, only to emerge 45 minutes later, having lost yourself in a maze of emails, social media, and news headlines? Each notification, each scroll, each quick check is more than just a momentary distraction. It's a decisive battle lost in the war for your morning potential. The science behind this modern morning sabotage is both fascinating and alarming. When you start your day by checking your phone, you trigger a dopamine response that creates an addictive cycle, making it increasingly difficult to resist the urge to check your device throughout the day. More critically, this early morning digital immersion floods your mind with information, anxiety, and other people's agendas before you've had a chance to set your own intentions. Cal Newport, renowned professor and author of Deep Work, demonstrates the power of a distraction-free morning through his own rigorous practice. Despite being a successful author and academic, Newport maintains a strict policy of zero digital engagement during his morning hours. The quality of your day's work is often determined by how you spend your first hour, Newport explains. When you begin your day by reacting to others' demands, you've already lost control of your most valuable asset, your attention. His morning routine is a masterclass in focused intention. He rises early, spends time in quiet contemplation, and works on his most challenging writing projects before even thinking about checking emails or messages. This dedication to protecting his morning hours has enabled him to publish multiple best-selling books while maintaining a full teaching schedule. The research supporting this approach is compelling. A study found that it takes an average of 23 minutes to fully regain focus after a single interruption. When you consider that the typical smartphone user checks their device 150 times per day, the cumulative cost of these distractions becomes staggering. But perhaps even more concerning is what happens to your brain when you start your day with digital stimulation. Dr. Andrew Huberman's research shows that exposure to blue light and information overload within the first hour of waking can disrupt your circadian rhythm and cognitive function for the entire day. Your brain, primed for its most creative and focused work in the early hours, instead becomes overwhelmed with processing trivial information. Noah, a senior software developer in Seattle, learned this lesson the hard way. Like many in the tech industry, he prided himself on being always connected. His mornings typically started with checking work emails, scrolling through tech news, and catching up on YouTube videos, all before leaving his bed. I told myself I was staying informed, being productive, Noah recalls. But in reality, I was fragmenting my attention and depleting my mental energy before my day even began. The turning point came when he noticed a pattern. His most productive and satisfying days were invariably those rare occasions when he accidentally left his phone in another room, or when his internet was down. This observation led him to experiment with a radical change, removing all digital devices from his bedroom and creating a strict no-screens policy for the first hour of his day. The transformation was profound. Instead of reaching for his phone, Noah now starts his morning with a notebook and pen, spending 15 minutes writing down his goals and priorities for the day. He replaced his morning news check with reading physical books, choosing material that inspired and educated rather than distracted. The difference wasn't just in how I felt, it showed in my work, Noah explains. My code was cleaner, my solutions more elegant, and my ability to tackle complex problems improved dramatically. I realized that by protecting my morning hours from digital noise, I was giving my brain the space it needed to operate at its best. The key to creating your own distraction-free morning lies in understanding that willpower alone isn't enough. You need to design your environment for success. This means physical distance. Your devices should be physically separated from your sleeping space. Charge your phone in another room, eliminating the temptation for just one quick check. Sacred space creation. Designate a specific area for your morning routine that's free from digital interruptions. This could be a corner of your bedroom, a comfortable chair, or even your kitchen table. Replacement activities. Nature abhors a vacuum, and so does human behavior. Replace digital stimulation with activities that energize and focus your mind. Reading, journaling, meditation, or simple quiet contemplation. Time boundaries. Set clear rules about when you'll first engage with digital devices. Many successful people wait until they've completed their morning routine and most important task before checking any messages. Environmental design. Make your morning space conducive to focus. Good lighting, comfortable seating, and easy access to your chosen morning activities, books, journal, meditation cushion, make it easier to stick to your routine. The impact of these changes extends far beyond just having a more peaceful morning. When you protect your first hour from distractions, you're making a powerful statement about your priorities and your commitment to personal growth. You're choosing to lead your day rather than react to it. Consider the compounding effect. If you save just 1 hour each morning from digital distraction, that's 365 hours per year, equivalent to more than 15 full days of focused, intentional time. What could you achieve with 15 extra days of your best mental energy? This isn't about demonizing technology. It's about putting it in its proper place. Your devices are tools that should serve your goals, not dictate your attention and energy. By establishing clear boundaries around when and how you engage with digital information, you reclaim control over your most valuable resources, your time and attention. Chapter 10. Building Unbreakable Discipline. Motivation is unreliable. Discipline wins. Let that truth settle in for a moment. How many times have you felt incredibly motivated to start waking up early, only to abandon the habit within days? The burst of inspiration that had you setting ambitious alarms fades, replaced by the comfort of your warm bed and the seductive whisper of just 5 more minutes. This isn't about your willpower or how badly you want success. It's about understanding a fundamental truth that separates high achievers from everyone else. They don't rely on motivation. They build systems that make success inevitable. The neuroscience behind habit formation reveals why motivation alone fails us. When you attempt to wake up early relying purely on willpower, you're fighting against your brain's deeply ingrained patterns. Your neural pathways have been programmed over years to follow certain morning routines. Motivation might give you enough push to override these patterns for a few days, but it's like trying to hold back a river with your bare hands. Eventually, the force becomes too strong. Stephen King, one of the most prolific authors of our time, demonstrates this principle perfectly. He sits down to write at the same time every morning, producing 6 pages before noon. The art of writing, King explains, is the art of showing up. He doesn't wait for inspiration or motivation. His morning writing session is as automatic as brushing his teeth. When asked about his unwavering discipline, King revealed something profound. I have a quota of 2,000 words a day, and I rarely let anything get in the way of it. This isn't about feeling motivated. It's about identity. King doesn't think of himself as someone who tries to write every morning. He is a writer, and this is simply what writers do. The science of habit formation shows that lasting change comes from identity-based habits rather than outcome-based goals. When you try to wake up early because you want to be more productive, outcome-based, you're relying on motivation. But when you wake up early because this is who I am, identity-based, you're operating from a place of discipline. Dr. B.J. Fogg emphasizes the power of habit stacking, attaching new habits to existing ones. This creates what he calls tiny behaviors that eventually become automatic. Instead of relying on motivation to wake up early, you build a chain of habits that trigger each other. Look at the story of Tina, a nutrition coach in Portland who struggled with early rising for years. Despite reading countless productivity books and setting multiple alarms, she could never maintain the habit for more than a few days. Her breakthrough came when she stopped focusing on motivation and started building systems. Tina's transformation began with habit stacking. Instead of just setting an alarm for 5 a.m., she created a sequence. When her alarm rings, trigger, she immediately walks to her kitchen, action, to make her signature morning smoothie, reward, while listening to an audiobook, additional reward. This simple stack of habits made waking up early feel less like a chore and more like a natural flow. The key was removing decision-making from the equation, Tina explains. I no longer had to decide whether to get up. The sequence just started, and my body followed along almost automatically. Within weeks, Tina noticed something remarkable. She no longer needed her alarm. Her body naturally woke up at 5 a.m., eager to start the smoothie audiobook ritual she had created. The habit had become part of her identity. This transformation illustrates 3 critical principles of habit formation. Environmental design. Tina placed her audiobook and smoothie ingredients in plain sight the night before, making it easier to follow through. Reward. Coupling. She paired the challenging behavior, early rising, with immediately rewarding experiences, tasty smoothie and engaging audiobook. Identity reinforcement. Each successful morning strengthened her self-image as someone who wakes up at 5 a.m., making the habit more automatic. The power of this approach lies in its simplicity. You're not fighting against your brain's natural tendencies. You're working with them, creating new neural pathways through consistent, rewarded behavior. Your challenge for the next 7 days is this. Create your own wake-up ritual by stacking 3 simple habits. When your alarm rings at 5 a.m., immediately perform a specific action, like drinking a glass of water, followed by something you enjoy, like reading or stretching. Repeat this sequence exactly the same way each morning. Don't focus on feeling motivated. Focus on following the system you've created. Chapter 11. Consistency over convenience. You've been crushing your 5 a.m. routine all week. Then Saturday comes, and you sleep in. By Monday, you're back to struggling. Sound familiar? This pattern isn't just frustrating. It's sabotaging your transformation. While you might think those weekend sleep-ins are helping you catch up on rest, they're actually undermining everything you've built during the week. Your body craves consistency, and those weekend disruptions are creating what scientists call social jet lag, a physiological confusion that makes Monday mornings feel like you're fighting actual jet lag. Think about this. Every time you shift your sleep schedule on weekends, you're essentially forcing your body to adapt to a new time zone. Your circadian rhythm, the internal clock that regulates your sleep-wake cycle, becomes disrupted. This isn't just about feeling groggy. It's about hormonal changes that affect everything from your metabolism to your cognitive function. Research shows that maintaining consistent sleep-wake times, even on weekends, leads to better sleep quality, improved mood, and enhanced cognitive performance. The body's internal clock operates on a roughly 24-hour cycle, and any significant deviation from this pattern triggers a cascade of biological disruptions. Anna Wintour, the legendary editor-in-chief of Vogue, demonstrates this principle perfectly. Known for her unwavering discipline, Wintour maintains the same wake-up time 7 days a week. She rises at 5:45 a.m. whether it's a busy Monday at the office or a quiet Sunday at home. This consistency has been a cornerstone of her success for over 3 decades. When asked about her weekend routine, Wintour explained that maintaining her schedule isn't about deprivation. It's about optimization. My mind is clearest in the morning, she says. Why would I want to compromise that clarity just because it's Saturday? This mindset shift is crucial. Consistency isn't a sacrifice, it's an advantage. The science behind this is compelling. Dr. Matthew Walker, a neuroscientist and sleep expert, explains that irregular sleep patterns disrupt our body's natural rhythms, leading to what he calls sleep debt. This debt accumulates over time, making it increasingly difficult to maintain healthy sleep patterns and optimal performance. Consider the impact of weekend sleep disruption on your body. Your internal clock becomes confused, making it harder to fall asleep and wake up naturally. Hormone production, including cortisol and melatonin, gets thrown off schedule. Cognitive function decreases, affecting decision-making and focus. Metabolism slows, potentially leading to weight gain. Mood regulation becomes more difficult, increasing irritability and stress. Manny, a business consultant in Chicago, experienced this firsthand. For months, he maintained a strict 5 a.m. routine during the week, but allowed himself to sleep in until 9 or 10 a.m. on weekends. "I thought I was being smart, giving myself a break," he recalls. "But every Monday felt like I was starting over. The first few hours were always a fog, and by Wednesday I'd finally feel back on track, just in time to derail everything again on the weekend." His breakthrough came when he started treating his wake-up time like any other non-negotiable commitment. Instead of sleeping in on weekends, he began waking up at 6 a.m., just 1 hour later than his weekday schedule. This small adjustment made a massive difference. "The first few weekends were challenging," Manny admits. "But once I stopped viewing weekends as cheat days for sleep, everything changed. My energy levels stabilized, my mood improved, and Mondays stopped feeling like such a struggle." Manny's solution wasn't about being rigid, it was about being strategic. He still enjoyed his weekends but found ways to protect his circadian rhythm. He maintained his morning routine but moved at a more relaxed pace. He used the extra weekend morning hours for activities he enjoyed, like reading or hiking. He adjusted his evening schedule slightly to ensure adequate rest. If he stayed up later for social events, he still woke up within an hour of his usual time, then took a short afternoon nap if needed. The results were transformative. Not only did his Monday productivity improve, but his overall quality of life enhanced. "I used to waste half of Sunday dreading Monday," he says. "Now I wake up excited every day because my body knows what to expect." This consistency principle extends beyond just sleep schedules. Tom Brady, one of the most successful athletes in history, maintains nearly identical daily routines throughout the year, including off-season. "Discipline," Brady explains, "is doing what you know needs to be done, even when you don't want to do it." The key to maintaining weekend consistency lies in reframing how you view those extra morning hours. Instead of seeing early rising as a workplace necessity, recognize it as a gift to yourself. Time for personal growth, peaceful reflection, or pursuing passions that busy weekdays don't allow. Your challenge for the next 3 weekends is simple but powerful. Wake up within 1 hour of your weekday time. If you rise at 5 a.m. during the week, allow yourself to sleep until 6 a.m. on weekends, but no later. Notice how this small adjustment affects your energy, mood, and productivity, especially on Mondays. Remember, this isn't about deprivation, it's about optimization. Your body craves consistency, and when you honor that need, it rewards you with better sleep, clearer thinking, and more stable energy levels throughout the entire week. What could you accomplish if every day started with the same clarity and purpose as your best mornings? The answer lies in your commitment to consistency, even when it's inconvenient. Chapter 12. Adapting without breaking. What happens when life throws you off track? A late-night event, a business trip, or a newborn baby? Do you give up on 5 a.m. completely? These disruptions aren't just challenges. They're the exact moments that define your journey. While most people use these situations as excuses to abandon their morning discipline entirely, you're about to learn how to adapt without compromising your core commitment to excellence. The truth is, life will never align perfectly with your ideal schedule. The key isn't maintaining a flawless routine, it's developing the flexibility to maintain your momentum even when circumstances change. Think of your morning routine not as a rigid structure, but as a dynamic framework that can expand or contract based on your situation. Tom Brady, widely considered the greatest quarterback of all time, demonstrates this principle masterfully. During his 23-season NFL career, Brady maintained incredibly consistent habits while constantly adapting to different time zones, game schedules, and recovery needs. Rather than viewing his routine as unchangeable, he developed what he calls situational discipline, core habits that flex without breaking. The goal isn't perfection, Brady explains. It's consistency over time. Some days you can do everything perfectly. Other days you have to adapt. But you never completely abandon your standards. You just adjust them to fit reality. When traveling across time zones for games, Brady wouldn't try to force his exact home schedule. Instead, he focused on maintaining his non-negotiable elements: hydration, movement, and mental preparation. He might compress his usual 90-minute morning routine into 30 minutes, but he never skipped it entirely. This approach is supported by research in behavioral psychology. Studies show that trying to maintain an all-or-nothing approach to habits often leads to complete abandonment when circumstances change. However, having a flexible framework, what scientists call implementation intentions, allows for sustainable long-term adherence. The key lies in understanding the 80-20 principle as it applies to your morning routine. Not all elements of your routine carry equal weight. Some activities deliver 80% of your results, while requiring only 20% of your usual time investment. These are your non-negotiables, the core habits that must survive even in challenging circumstances. Dr. Matthew Walker, a leading sleep scientist, emphasizes that adaptation doesn't mean compromising sleep quality. Instead, it means being strategic about how you structure your rest and recovery. He recommends using anchor sleep periods, maintaining at least 4 to 5 hours of consistent sleep timing, even when the full 7 to 8 hours isn't possible. Rachel, a startup founder based in San Francisco, discovered this the hard way. Her company's rapid growth meant constant travel between time zones, making her initial rigid 5 a.m. routine impossible to maintain. "I tried forcing myself to wake up at 5 a.m. local time everywhere I went," she recalls. "It was a disaster. I was exhausted, unfocused, and starting to resent the very routine that had previously transformed my life." Her breakthrough came when she developed what she calls her minimum viable morning, a 10-minute version of her full routine that preserved its essential benefits. Instead of her usual hour-long sequence, she identified 3 core elements that she could execute anywhere. 2 minutes of breathing exercises to center her mind, 3 minutes of priority setting for the day, 5 minutes of movement to energize her body. "It wasn't about doing everything perfectly anymore," Rachel explains. "It was about maintaining the spirit of my morning routine, even if the form had to change." This shift in mindset allowed her to stay consistent while traveling, and actually made her regular routine more sustainable when she returned home. The science behind this approach is compelling. Research shows that maintaining even a simplified version of a habit helps preserve the neural pathways associated with that behavior, making it easier to return to the full version when circumstances allow. Consider these strategies for maintaining morning momentum during disruptions. The time zone buffer. When traveling, adjust gradually by shifting your wake time 15 to 30 minutes each day leading up to your trip. This minimizes the impact of jet lag and helps maintain your body's natural rhythm. The strategic nap. Instead of abandoning early rising when late nights are unavoidable, use targeted 20-minute naps during the day to maintain energy levels without disrupting your primary sleep schedule. The reset day. After major disruptions, designate a specific reset day to return to your full routine. This prevents temporary adjustments from becoming permanent derailments. The minimum morning method. Create 3 versions of your routine. Full version, 60 plus minutes. Medium version, 30 minutes. Emergency version, 10 minutes. This tiered approach ensures you're never forced to choose between all or nothing. Your challenge for the next week is to create your own travel-proof morning routine, a condensed version of your 5 a.m. system that you can execute in any situation. It should take no more than 10 minutes and require no special equipment or environment. Test this minimal routine tomorrow morning, even if you're at home. This practice will prepare you for future disruptions and strengthen your understanding of which elements are truly essential to your success. Remember, The goal isn't to maintain a perfect routine. It's to maintain forward momentum, regardless of circumstances. How will you adapt without breaking? Chapter 13. The Confidence Catalyst. The fastest way to build confidence is to keep the promises you make to yourself. Think about it. How many times have you set your alarm with determination, visualizing the productive morning ahead, only to surrender to the snooze button when that moment of truth arrives? Each time you choose comfort over commitment, you're not just losing an hour of potential, you're eroding the foundation of self-trust that genuine confidence is built upon. But here's what makes the 5 a.m. commitment so powerful. It's a daily opportunity to prove to yourself that you are in control. Every morning when you rise before the sun, you're making a profound statement about who you are and what you're capable of. This isn't just about waking up early, it's about becoming someone who follows through. The psychology behind this connection is fascinating. Research shows that confidence isn't an inherent trait. It's a skill built through consistent action. Angela Duckworth, the renowned psychologist and author of Grit, discovered through extensive research that self-discipline in one area creates a ripple effect of confidence across all aspects of life. Her studies revealed that people who maintain consistent morning routines show significantly higher levels of self-efficacy in their professional and personal lives. What we found wasn't just correlation, Duckworth explains. The act of following through on small commitments literally rewires your brain's belief in what you can achieve. When you prove to yourself that you can do what you say you'll do, even when it's difficult, you build what we call evidence-based confidence, the most powerful and lasting form of self-belief. This principle explains why many successful leaders attribute their breakthrough moments not to grand gestures, but to small, consistent acts of self-discipline. Take Chris, a tech startup founder who struggled with imposter syndrome and self-doubt. In meetings, he would hesitate to share his ideas, constantly second-guessing his instincts and deferring to others' opinions. "I was successful on paper," Chris recalls, "but inside, I felt like a fraud. I realized I didn't trust myself because I had a pattern of breaking promises to myself, especially when it came to my morning routine." Chris decided to make 5 a.m. non-negotiable. No excuses, no exceptions. The first week was brutal, and his mind created countless justifications for sleeping in. But each morning when he stood up instead of hitting snooze, he was building more than just a habit. He was building trust with himself. Something shifted after the first month, he says. "I started noticing that I was speaking up more in meetings. I was making decisions faster, with less second-guessing. When you prove to yourself every single morning that you can do what you say you'll do, it changes how you see yourself." Within 3 months, Chris had secured major partnerships that he previously would have been too hesitant to pursue. His team noticed the difference too. He was leading with more conviction, taking calculated risks, and inspiring others through his example. The science behind this transformation is clear. Each time you follow through on a commitment, your brain releases dopamine, reinforcing the neural pathways associated with success and self-trust. Over time, this creates what neuroscientists call a success spiral, where small wins create the confidence for bigger challenges, which lead to bigger wins and even greater confidence. But here's the critical insight. This spiral works both ways. Every time you hit snooze, you're not just losing an hour, you're training your brain to doubt your own word. This is why the 5 a.m. commitment is so powerful as a confidence catalyst. It's a daily opportunity to prove to yourself that you do what you say you'll do. The key is to understand that confidence isn't built in giant leaps. It's built in small, consistent actions. When you wake up at 5 a.m., you're not just starting your day earlier, you're starting it with proof that you can trust yourself. This evidence-based confidence becomes the foundation for every other challenge you face. Your challenge for the next 7 days is simple but profound. Treat 5 a.m. as your first victory of the day. No snooze button, no negotiations, just proof that you can trust yourself. Each morning when the alarm sounds, remember that this moment is about more than just waking up. It's about becoming someone who keeps their word to themselves. Chapter 14. Winning Before the World Wakes. Two people start their workday at 9 a.m. One of them has already exercised, read, and completed their most important task. The other just rolled out of bed, scrolling through notifications. Who do you think wins? This isn't a hypothetical scenario. It's playing out in offices, businesses, and homes across the world right now. While most people start their day in reaction mode, scrambling to catch up, a select few are already steps ahead, commanding their destiny before others have even opened their eyes. Think about your typical morning. Are you leading it, or is it leading you? The difference between these two approaches isn't just about productivity, it's about power. When you wake up late, rushing to meet the day's demands, you've already surrendered control. Your mind is immediately bombarded with notifications, requests, and obligations. You're playing defense from the moment you open your eyes. But there's a fundamental shift that happens when you rise at 5 a.m. You're no longer at the mercy of the world's timeline. You're creating your own. This is why the most successful people guard their morning hours like precious gold. They understand that these quiet, uninterrupted moments are their secret weapon. Howard Schultz, the visionary who transformed Starbucks from a small coffee chain into a global phenomenon, starts his day at 4:30 a.m. During his tenure as CEO, he used these early hours to develop strategies, refine ideas, and maintain his physical fitness, all before most people hit their first snooze button. The quiet time between 4:30 and 7 a.m. is when I do my best thinking, Schultz explains. No phones ringing, no meetings, no pressure, just clarity. The science behind this approach is compelling. Research found that our prefrontal cortex, the brain region responsible for complex thinking and decision-making, functions at its peak in the early morning hours. This is when our analytical abilities are sharpest, our creative insights flow most freely, and our ability to focus is at its strongest. Dr. Christoph Randler's groundbreaking study revealed that early risers are more proactive, more likely to anticipate problems, and better positioned to minimize them. They're literally getting ahead of issues before they become issues, Randler notes. This proactive behavior translates into better job performance, higher wages, and greater career success. But perhaps most importantly, these early hours provide what psychologists call protected time. Periods of focused attention that are essential for deep work and meaningful progress. When you start your day at 5 a.m., you're not just getting a head start, you're operating in a different universe entirely. Nina's story perfectly illustrates this transformation. As a single mother and senior project manager at a tech company, her mornings used to be a blur of stress and reactive decisions. I was always playing catch-up, she recalls. Getting my daughter ready for school, answering urgent emails on my phone, rushing through traffic. By the time I reached the office, I felt like I'd already fought a war. The breaking point came during a crucial project launch. After another chaotic morning, she missed an important detail in a client presentation because her mind was still scattered from the morning rush. That night, she made a decision. Something had to change. Nina started waking up at 5 a.m. 2 hours before her daughter. The first week was challenging, but she quickly discovered something remarkable. Those 2 hours became sacred, she explains. I could think clearly, plan effectively, and actually work on important tasks without interruption. Her new morning routine was simple but powerful. 5 a.m. to 5:15 a.m. Meditation and intention setting. 5:15 to 6 a.m. Deep work on priority projects. 6 a.m. to 6:30 a.m. Exercise. 6:30 to 7 a.m. Shower and personal preparation. By the time her daughter woke up at 7 a.m., Nina had already accomplished more than she used to achieve in an entire morning. The difference was incredible, she says. I wasn't just more productive, I was more present. When I was with my daughter, I could focus on her completely instead of trying to multitask. The impact on her work was equally dramatic. I started delivering projects ahead of schedule. My presentations were sharper because I'd had time to think them through properly. My team noticed that I was more strategic, less reactive. Within 6 months, Nina received a promotion, something she directly attributes to her new morning routine. But the most profound change wasn't in her external results, it was in how she felt. For the first time in years, I felt in control, she explains. Instead of life happening to me, I was directing it. That feeling of empowerment carried through the entire day. Nina's transformation highlights a crucial truth. The power of 5 a.m. isn't just about getting more done. It's about taking control of your life's direction. When you win your morning, you win your day. And when you consistently win your days, you transform your life. The key is understanding that your morning hours are your most valuable asset. They're when your willpower is strongest, your mind is clearest, and your potential for focused work is at its peak. Every minute you spend reacting instead of leading during these golden hours is a missed opportunity for growth and progress. Consider this. By waking up at 5 a.m., you gain a 3 to 4 hour advantage over most people. That's not just extra time, it's leverage. While others are still sleeping or scrolling through social media, you're already executing on your most important priorities. By the time they're starting their day, you've already won. Chapter 15. Winning the Long Game. If you keep waking up at 5 a.m. for the next 5 years, where will you be? And if you don't, where will you be? This isn't just about tomorrow's productivity or next week's goals. This is about who you're becoming, one morning at a time. Every 5 a.m. wake-up is a brick in the foundation of your future self. Most people underestimate the power of compound habits. They focus on the immediate discomfort of early rising rather than the extraordinary possibilities it creates. But success isn't built in days or weeks. It's forged through years of consistent, intentional action. Each morning you rise early. You're not just gaining a few extra hours. You're strengthening your character, expanding your capabilities, and separating yourself from the masses who choose comfort over growth. The science of habit formation reveals a profound truth. What you do consistently becomes who you are. Neuroscience shows that repeated behaviors create stronger neural pathways, making these actions increasingly automatic. When you wake up at 5 a.m. day after day, you're not just setting an alarm, you're rewiring your brain for excellence. Michelle Yeoh, who made history as the first Asian woman to win the Academy Award for Best Actress, understands this principle intimately. Throughout her decades-long career, from martial arts films to Hollywood blockbusters, she maintained a strict morning routine that started before dawn. Discipline is freedom, she often says. When you wake up early, you have time to prepare, to train, to become better than you were yesterday. Even during grueling film shoots or international travel, Yeoh refused to compromise on her morning routine. She used these quiet hours for physical training, script preparation, and mental conditioning. This wasn't just about being a better actress. It was about building the foundation for sustained excellence. Her Oscar victory in 2023 wasn't just the result of one brilliant performance. It was the culmination of thousands of early mornings dedicated to her craft. This long-term perspective transforms how you view the daily challenge of early rising. It's no longer about the temporary discomfort of leaving your warm bed. It's about the person you're becoming through this daily act of discipline. Think about Jared's story. As a sophomore in college, he was the typical student, staying up late, sleeping through morning classes, and wondering why he never had time for his true passions. His dream of starting a tech company seemed impossible with his packed schedule of classes, study groups, and social activities. The turning point came when he realized he was waiting for time to appear magically in his schedule. "I kept saying I'd work on my business idea when I had more time," he recalls. "But that time never came because I wasn't creating it." Inspired by successful entrepreneurs who emphasized the importance of morning routines, Jared made a bold decision. He would wake up at 5 a.m. every day for a year. No exceptions, no excuses. The first few weeks were brutal. He fought against years of late-night habits and the social pressure to stay up with his friends. But he stuck with it, using those early morning hours to learn coding, develop his business plan, and work on prototypes. While his classmates were sleeping, he was building his future. "The crazy thing was, my grades actually improved," he says. "Because I was up early, I was more focused during classes and more efficient with my study time." After 6 months, he had a working prototype. By 9 months, he had his first paying customers. 1 year into his 5 a.m. routine, his startup was generating enough revenue to cover his tuition. But the real transformation wasn't in his business. It was in who he had become. "I'm a completely different person now," Jared explains. "When you prove to yourself every single morning that you can do hard things, it changes how you see everything. Challenges that used to seem impossible now look like opportunities." 5 years later, Jared's company employs 15 people and serves clients across 3 continents. He still wakes up at 5 a.m., now using those hours to strategize, innovate, and mentor others. Looking back, that decision to master my mornings was the foundation for everything else. It wasn't just about having more time, it was about becoming someone capable of achieving big goals. This is the real power of the 5 a.m. habit. It's not just about what you do with those early hours. It's about who you become through the process. Every morning is a choice between immediate comfort and long-term growth. Every time you choose to rise early, you're voting for your future self. So now it's time for the most important question of all. Are you committed to this for the long haul? Not just for tomorrow or next week or even next month, but for the next 5 years. Imagine yourself 5 years from now. What kind of life will you have built by mastering your mornings? What opportunities will you have created? What person will you have become? This is your moment of decision. Will you choose the path of least resistance, staying in bed while opportunities pass you by? Or will you join the ranks of those who rise early, day after day, building something extraordinary with their lives? The challenge is simple but profound. Make your decision right now. Write down where you want to be in 5 years and commit to the 5 a.m. routine as the foundation of getting there. This isn't just about tomorrow's alarm. It's about your legacy. Conclusion. You've reached the end of this audiobook, but you're actually standing at the beginning of something far more significant, your transformation journey. Throughout these chapters, we've dismantled the myths about early rising, explored the science of peak performance, and revealed the strategies used by history's most successful individuals. But none of that matters without what happens next. The science is clear. Your brain operates at peak capacity in those early hours. Your willpower is strongest, your focus is sharpest, and your potential for deep work is at its highest. By choosing to rise at 5 a.m., you're not just changing your schedule, you're rewiring your brain for excellence. But here's the truth. All the knowledge in this audiobook is worthless without implementation. You now hold the blueprint for transformation. But blueprints don't build houses. Action does. You have the strategies, the science, and the stories to guide you. What happens next is entirely up to you. Imagine yourself 6 months from now. You could be the person who still hits snooze, still feels rushed, still watches opportunities pass by. Or you could be someone who owns their mornings, who accomplishes more before 8 a.m. than most people do all day, who is steadily building the life they've always wanted. The difference between these two futures comes down to one decision. What time will you wake up tomorrow? This isn't just about tomorrow, though. It's about who you're becoming. Every time you rise at 5 a.m., you're voting for your future self. You're choosing discipline over comfort, growth over stagnation, excellence over mediocrity. You're joining the ranks of those who refuse to settle for average, who understand that extraordinary results require extraordinary commitment. The transformation you've been waiting for doesn't start next week, next month, or when conditions are perfect. It starts tomorrow at 5 a.m. The choice is yours. Will you remain in the same patterns that have brought you to this point? Or will you step into your potential and begin writing a new chapter in your story? Set your alarm. Make your decision. Your future self is waiting. The only question left is, will you rise? Thank you for listening and for investing in yourself. I believe in you. I believe in you. Your potential is endless. Now, go out there and create the life you deserve.